Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Shouting into the Void. I say good afternoon, but it could be evening when you're watching this. It could be middle of the morning. Who knows? Whenever you're watching, hello. This is a show where myself, Connor, and my good friend Liam, who has just turned 25, happy birthday to Liam, just turned 25 and is celebrating with an episode he fondly remembers. Yes, we go through episodes of Doctor Who, New Who, which started in 2005. We're now on series 3, episode 7, 42. This episode sees the Doctor and now official companion. They make sure that that's said twice. He calls her a frequent flyer twice in this. Martha, she's now officially a companion, and they've arrived on a spaceship that's effectively crashing into a sun. Conveniently, the TARDIS is now stuck in a very hot room where they can't get to. Whoops! Guess I can't just quickly run in there in a spacesuit, move the TARDIS. No, can't do that. I have to stay on the ship. But they have to basically figure out why this ship is crashing. Nobody knows why, and they only have 42 minutes to do it, which conveniently is basically the same length. Minutes. It's basically the same length as the episode, which was one of the shticks I think they did for this. Was like, oh, it's all in real time, kinda.
Real time.
Yeah,
I've got fun facts confirming it, so it's fine.
Oh, that's good then.
Basically, spoiler alert, they should have called it 38 and then it'd been golden.
It's fine. I mean, as a kid, I didn't care, and even watching it now, I didn't care.
So I didn't care either.
Yes. So if you missed last week, Liam was quite excited to rewatch this one. It was one that he remembered quite liking of series 3. How did that go for you?
Oh boy. Yeah, like every time we've talked about series 3, even like when we were doing series 2 and stuff, we'd like go through the episodes and be like, hey, I enjoyed 42. I remember liking it. Oh boy, young naive Liam in 2007. This is my least favorite episode of series 3 so far.
Ooh, that's like scathing.
I preferred the Lazarus Experiment. I'm gobsmacked. Now,
interesting. Yeah,
I think Lazarus Experiment is worse as an episode. I think it's a bad episode. I think this is a boring episode. Right. And for me, boring episodes are worse than bad ones.
Interesting. Okay.
And yeah,
I mean, I agree with that.
It's just, I think it has some really good ideas, but they're over way too quickly. It takes half an hour for anything significant and enjoyable to actually happen. Until the half an hour point, I think David Tennant's completely wasted until the script actually gives him something to do. Yeah. There's only like 2 memorable characters the whole bloody thing. Yeah, I was extremely disappointed with it, I must say. I mean, it's fine. I liked it well enough, but I thought I'd be like, yeah, that's a good episode. I didn't find it particularly good this time around, sadly.
No, that's fair enough. We should also mention up top, because I'm sure people will point it out, and that often it's used as a stick. But this episode, I believe, was written by Chris Chibnall, who is the current showrunner of Doctor Who. Obviously, that doesn't bear any thought into what we thought of it. We take every episode as an episode rather than who it's written by, unless the person that writes it is a big piece of shit. Yeah. And I mean, for both of these episodes, this week's and last week's, I remember being like, they were the filler episodes, I think, of this series. Normally they're spread out a little bit more, so we probably don't notice them as much. But this time they were right next to each other, and that didn't help.
It's Liver Monsters and Fear Her again.
It is. And unfortunately, I don't think that really helps. I did prefer this one to last week's, mainly because I feel that this one escalates throughout and gets more intense, and you get more into it. Whereas last week it finishes halfway through and then goes, oh, hang on a minute. Whereas I don't think this one does it, which to me makes it better, because then at least I'm going to be more engaged throughout rather than just a bit at the start.
I will say the last 10 minutes saved it for me.
Yeah, I do think.
Otherwise, I think this would have been probably my lowest score I'd ever given anything.
Yeah, I think, and I mean, if you've not watched the episode, go watch the episode, because we're gonna dissect it, obviously. But as soon as Martha is trapped in that escape pod, I feel from that point Excitement. Good. I like
Yeah.
this. Everything beforehand.
Yeah.
Feels like a boring episode of Torchwood, which, funnily enough, he was also writing at the time.
Uh-huh.
But yes, we will jump into it. Normally we give 3 positives and 3 negatives. I didn't find it as hard to come up with things this week as I did last week. In both categories, positives and negatives. Although they're probably the negatives probably outweigh the positives for me. So we'll start with you this week. What is your first positive?
Riley,
Same.
played
He's
by
my
William
first.
Ash,
Yeah.
the best character in the episode,
Yep.
the only supporting character who's worth a damn, in my
Yep.
opinion.
Yep.
I think everyone else is terrible. We'll talk about them later. I mean, I feel bad for the actors really, because the script just gives them nothing to do.
No.
But Riley, I really enjoyed. I think the actor does a great job. I love the pairing of him and Martha. Their scenes in the pod together I thought were really nice. He's the only supporting cast member who actually gets like backstory and development, which probably helps. But yeah, he just wrote really well for me. Definitely a standout. Again, maybe not super impressive given that everyone else is Dollars Dishwater.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the kind of chemistry he brought to proceedings. I'd have liked him to be a companion. I'm just going to say it. I'd have liked him to gone off with Martha at the end and joined them for like half a series. How he would have fit into like human nature stuff, God knows. But it doesn't matter because it didn't happen. But you bring Adam along and you don't bring Riley along. Hideous. But yeah, he was far and away, outside of the Doctor and Martha, he was far and away, I think, that, the standout character in this episode for me. So yeah, he was really good.
Yep, I completely agree with everything you said. I think he was, obviously it helps that he was probably the most fleshed out, but he was the only one that felt like he actually lived in the world. Everyone else just felt like they were robots.
He was very grounded,
Some of the performances didn't exactly make me think that they're real people anyway.
Yeah, I was very glad when some people died quite early on.
Yes. But yeah, I think it helped that he was obviously singled out as the crew member that's going to get the most development, which is fine. He was arguably the most famous guest actor for this cast. I don't know if he was in Waterloo Road at this point. Or not.
This might have been a bit before, maybe.
But he was obviously one of the BBC's golden boys, maybe one of the ones that's upcoming that they want to promote and put in everywhere, which sometimes you'll see with Doctor Who. You'll get an actor that's either just about to go into something or has just come out of it. If you think Midnight, and you've got the guy that plays Merlin in that one, Andrew Garfield obviously in the previous ones. So Doctor Who does have a habit of taking these actors that are either currently like growing or will be soon and putting them in their shows. I don't think the actor that played Riley necessarily went on to have a stellar career. I couldn't tell you what he's doing now, for example, but I know that he was one of the highlights of Waterloo Road when he joined. And yeah, he was just he bounced off Martha really well. I was kind of towards the end, I was like, just go with them. It's fine. Just go with them. What are you going to do? Get arrested? Like, go with them. It's not going to make a difference.
You're not talking to your mum. You might as well just go.
That's it. Exactly. Just leave. Just leave. But sure, he has a commitment to the ship. I guess he's technically the pseudo captain now that what's her face flew out of the air
herself.
Yeah.
Among Us, she was sus.
Yeah. And yeah, I really liked him. Everything he said. I'm gutted he didn't come back. I mean, there's probably a comic that he's in from like the Doctor Who Adventures magazines from years ago. But yeah, I mean, he's not a big enough character to come back into the show, unfortunately, or actor. So I highly doubt we'll ever see him again.
No.
But definitely one of the highlights of the episode. Again, that's compared to everybody else in the episode. But either way, I think if he was in another episode, he probably also would have been one of the standouts.
He's very likable.
Yes, yeah, and I think that helps. Again, in a crew of people that aren't likable, it's easy to be likable.
Yeah.
But yes, agree. So both of us. This is Riley. What's your second one?
Mine is everything to do with the escape pod sequences,
Yep.
basically.
Yep.
From the moment it like shoots out and it goes completely silent, and it's just the Doctor like doing some mouthing at the window. Yep. All of that, I was like, yeah, that's very, very good. The shot of it like shooting in towards the sun is great. How it's all filmed. And then the Martha and Riley conversation that takes place in there when she calls her mum, that's super well acted with all three of them. in there. And even though I feel like nothing really happens for most of the episode, it still like made you think with the music when they use the same track again and again and again and again and again. Like, oh, things are happening. It's exciting. I liked that the escape pod thing helped. Like, we can slow things down just for a bit. We can take a break from that one track just for a bit, and have a really well acted scene with some of those three actors. So everything with that, I think that was kind of the emotional core of the episode for me. I think that worked really, really well. The doctor saving Martha, and then in turn she can save him. There's a nice setup for the last like 10 minutes of the episode, basically. So at least I was just at this point, oh, thank God something I liked happened. Unfortunately it took half an hour to get to that point, but I did really enjoy everything to do with the escape pod.
Yeah, that's my third best bit, so I'll talk about it now. But yeah, same. Like, as soon as, like, maybe not necessarily I got to push this button to stop going, or I'll push this button to make it go, or smash it. I guess that's it. I guess that's it. It's just you'd think if it was smashed, it wouldn't eject. Surely that's a safety feature, but maybe I don't know, spaceships. Who knows?
No. I mean, they had a pub quiz lock, so their designs all over the place on that ship.
It's a shit spaceship, although it looks cool. It's a shit spaceship.
Yeah, it does look very good.
Just everything. I thought the fact that it made realistic space, I guess, with it being quiet in the background, which is obviously something that sci-fi films and shows don't do very often. I remember the first Star Trek film, 2009 Star Trek, it did like everything's quiet in space, but then it lost that eventually in the sequels. Like, no, loud noises and explosions, that's what you want.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's this. You can see the relationship between the Martha and the Doctor, even if Martha's tapping on the glass was kind of off-putting, because it was just a very slight. I was like, stop, please. What's it gonna do? What's gonna happen? It's gonna fall off? You wanna die? What? Everything, and even from the Doctor going out to rescue her, all of that I really like. And yeah, it's just very good. It's probably the best bit of the episode. And like I said, as soon as the pod leaves, that's when the episode is probably the best bit. The sort of character moments between all of them is something that Chibnall does well, something that we know he does well. He did it in Broadchurch, he's done it in Torchwood, he's done it in Doctor Who. That's his proper bread and butter. It's not necessarily the sci-fi stuff. It's the relationships, which I think does get lost on some people. But I can also understand that in a sci-fi show, you want good sci-fi. You don't want the sci-fi to be the background, which in some cases it is this time, but I don't think they get the balance quite right. But yeah, very good. All very well acted. Even Francine's return over the phone. And her being a snake in the end is a bit it's very funny.
I liked all that stuff. That was good.
Yeah, but I also like how she must have, during the first phone call, put it down and gone, that was strange. I'd better call these secret people, and then got them in for the set. I want to know that. I want to see that day from her point of view. How did that work?
You get so rude. Oh, I know when it
yesterday
was when you met that man 2 days ago.
Yeah, and then like the secret agent lady like takes the phone at the end, and I'm like,
yeah, what are you gonna do with that?
What if she phones again? Luckily, she doesn't. But what if she does?
Yeah, that's strange.
But I guess it's election day, isn't it? And then it's going on to the whole thing, election day, and then they come back like the day after the election. So I guess she doesn't call in the end. Never gets a chance. No, because they phoned the dad in the finale. No, they phoned the mum, but the people are there. Never mind. Either way, that's a small tangent where why put the phone in the plastic bag? It's her own phone. But okay, fine.
Never mind.
Yes, everything to do with the pod jettison and everything like that. Very good. I really liked it. So what is your final positive?
The lighting. Really wanted to like it, guys. I really did.
Okay.
Interesting. No, I was genuinely very impressed with it. I think it really helps sell the heat and how hot it is there.
Hello, everyone. We've had a few technical glitches at the minute. Me and Liam both keep freezing on each other's screens. We're going to carry on as best we can. So we'll see how it goes. Liam is going to take it from the top with his third positive.
I am. So the lighting I enjoyed. The reds and the oranges versus the blue in the escape pod I thought was a really interesting contrast. I liked that a lot. The exterior space shots and everything, how they were all kind of lit with the sunbeam particle stuff coming out. All of that I thought looked really cool. The shadows that they used, it helped sell like how hot everything was in there, which is kind of the main point of the episode, that they're crashing towards the sun. So at least they got that right. The fact that the Doctor wears like his blue suit for the whole episode, and in some scenes it looks brown. I don't know why I find that amusing, but I just do. So yeah, everything with that. I just thought, yeah, visually, I thought the episode actually was one of the more impressive of this series for me. I think it was quite different and unique. Shame about everything else, really.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I definitely did notice the sweaty people a lot more than I thought I would. I think Martha's hair gets frizzier and frizzier as the episode goes on. And yeah, I mean, it's a hot place, and I think they sell that really well. So I guess maybe you're not necessarily the lighting, but the atmosphere, I guess, would probably be more accurate, maybe.
But
I don't.
Again, yeah. I wasn't really that invested in the episode, so I didn't really want to say the atmosphere of it.
Yeah.
So I didn't care.
Yeah, understandable. My third one is David Tennant. He's not he's not been in the positives for a while, I don't think.
I know.
But yeah, I think he is this week again, mainly for his performance from the pod jettison onwards.
Yeah, I do have an extra note about that.
Yeah, so I think, yeah, he's fine in the start. You know, he takes control of the situation, blah blah blah, same Doctor stuff. But then you see his emotions when he's trying to get Martha back. You see the commitment he has to her to get her back, and then obviously you see the range David Tennant has in showing anger, pain, scaredness.
Fear.
Yeah. Took me a while. Scaredness. He was a scaredness boy. Yeah, you see his range of emotions. And that's not, I thought, it's not often that we get to see the Doctor put in that situation where he's literally under threat and could die. Normally he's got some element of control, he's going to get out of it. But in this one, you find like, he's actually talking about regeneration here. He could die. He doesn't do that very often. And yeah, I just think that it works really well. David Tennant gave a great performance. I think the script let him in this, and he definitely gave it his all. Whereas in recent episodes, he's maybe not been not the focus of the script, but he's not had the right words to put towards it, and I don't think it's worked out quite well for him. But yeah, I just thought, and again, maybe it's because the rest of the cast are a bit muddled. He just stands out as one of the best. I didn't want to put Martha on this because we'll come around to some concerns I have on the companion side of the story later on. But yeah, so what were your other positives, if you had any?
I'm also like the makeup and stuff, like making everyone look all sweaty. I thought that looked really good. And then I did put, once the script gave him the material, David Tennant was fantastic. The whole like possessed Doctor sequence was really well done. I wish there was more of it, basically. And yeah, Free Imagination was also great throughout, but the script did give her good stuff for the whole episode. So yeah, once it actually allowed David Tennant to shine, he was fantastic.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, so my sort of other positive is I kind of like the idea of, I like the idea of the villain, the son being scooped out and be like, hey, the fuck, bro, put me back. And also the possessed people, I quite liked how they try to, either kill or possess other people with the emphasis of, this ship is crashing because I want my heart back, mate. And then I also thought that, although you've noticed that the music was a little bit repetitive, I quite like, I think this is maybe the first time in series 3 we get that music that sort of goes throughout the rest of the series, the like big dramatic music. And I think that's especially used quite well when the Doctor is trying to remagnetize the escape pod. And again, that's Murray Gold being pretty good. I also noticed it used a lot of the sharp screeches that we used in Satan Pit and Impossible Planet. I was like, that's nice. I guess it's supposed to mean that this episode's a little bit spooky although it wasn't really that spooky. Then again, I'm sure that the possessed sun people did scare quite a few kids when they came out. It wouldn't surprise
Yeah,
me.
there've been lots of scaredness.
Yeah, scaredness, plenty of fears. But we do now have to come on to the negatives because this episode wasn't all sunshine and daisies. So what is?
There's a lot of sunshine though.
Oh, what is your first negative? Too much sun.
Too much sun. I hate it. With the exception of Riley, all the side characters is my first one. I don't think for the most part it's the actor's fault. They're just given absolutely nothing. They had to release a short story on the BBC website before this episode came out to even give anyone a backstory because they just knew, I'm sure. I was originally just going to single out Kath because my God, what a flip-floppy character who's just stupid for plot's sake. She is smart enough to know what's going on. Yeah. Even if she has to admit something's illegal, she must know. But still, so she's very flip-floppy for the sake of the plot. I feel nothing when she sacrifices herself because she's just all over the place. And it's all her fault basically. This episode could have been 5 minutes long, but no. The other guy who survives at the end, couldn't tell you what his name is. He literally has no character. He's just there. Somehow he survives. And all the other characters are killed before they actually have a chance to really do anything anyway. So that's kind of a shame. The fact that we have had impressive supporting cast of characters before in the show and like earlier this season, I think the Diet 2 part had a really good supporting cast. It stands out all the more, I feel like, with these guys. They're just paper thin. Somehow no plot happens that can fill 45 minutes, and yet there's also not enough time to give anything to the characters in 45 minutes. Very bizarre. It's just a shame that outside of the Doctor, Martha, and Riley, I don't care about anyone in this episode. Yeah, I think that's fair enough. So my first two negatives are the crew and then Kath. So I did single out Kath. That's fair.
The crew mainly because there's no substance to them. I couldn't tell you any of the names. I had to even look up Riley's name to know who Riley was. I can barely remember the names. I think I have like inklings of some, and that'll only come because of the Battles of Time cards more than anything else. I couldn't tell you anything. I guess the death of the nurse was kind of like because she was probably the most innocent one.
I did feel bad when people died like that, but I also find it very funny because I thought their scorched remains looked really weird and funny and a bit too comical.
Then the other one was like, oh, why don't you just kill me or something like that?
Kill me now.
It's like, what are you complaining about? You knew what job you were doing. You're complaining that you're doing stuff that you're supposed to do for your job. Like, I get it if he was being a dick and telling you to do stuff that isn't your job, but it's literally your job on a spaceship. What else are you going to be doing?
All right, burn to death then.
You literally.
You like
it. So I had no sympathy for any of the characters that died. Obviously with the two possessed people, you're not with them long enough to feel like, there's nothing of him left. Okay. There's nothing there to start with. We didn't know who he was.
We didn't see any of him before anyway.
I also think that means, and it leads on to Kath with I just don't get her motivations throughout this. I know it's an illegal thing, but she says it's an illegal thing straight away. So it's not like she has anything else to hide. And maybe it's just her being naive and she really doesn't know what the problem is. Fine. And then maybe the son didn't exactly say, hey, you've just scooped a little bit of me out. Can you put me back in, please? It straight away went, right, well, you're going to die.
It's your fault. It was just like very early on, the doctor asks her about something, I think, about like the illegal thing. And she looks at one of the people, doesn't she? So clearly, okay, we know something's off here. But then the episode after that is like, oh, we don't know why the son's doing this. I'm like, well, clearly we know that something's going wrong there. Like, don't have that look.
Yeah, because the doctor's like, oh, you should have done a scan. They're like, oh, we didn't have time. I would like just have it that they knew what it was and that they still scooped it out. But maybe they wanted to not make her look like an actual terrible person and just make her look like an idiot. Maybe that was the better alternative.
Well, they succeeded in that.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't have any emotions when they both fly out of the airlock because they're in love. Sure, fine, whatever. And I even when it's like when he's trying to like almost goes and kills her and he like stops like, you remember me? I was like, oh fuck.
My wife.
And then that also will then lead me on to the actress that plays Kath did not do a very good job performance wise. I think she stands out more than the others because she had more lines. Again, the kill me now girl, probably.
I was like, I mean, I just don't think the character's very good. And then it was like, when the doctor was like a bit possessed, he was like, oh, the son's alive or something. And she went, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
Yeah, it was very much like an EastEnders performance, I felt.
Funny enough.
No, I know.
She's one of the most famous EastEnders characters.
I know. And it didn't translate very well to this at all. Again, BBC just sharing EastEnders BBC. Yeah, Coronation Street is the ITV one, obviously. But yeah, both the crew and Kath, my top two negatives because they were just not great at all. As you mentioned, the supporting cast in previous episodes have been much better. Shakespeare Code was better. Gridlock was better. The past two-parter was better. Lazarus Experiment was probably better. So, and even next week, definitely better.
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe like at least you could kind of forgive Lazarus for not being as good as it could have been because it came after a Dalek two-parter where you're kind of like, oh, the Daleks are the big thing. But this one, it followed the Lazarus Experiment. You know, it didn't exactly have a high bar to hit, but unfortunately, I don't think it did. So what is your second negative?
My second, I just found the whole solution a bit meh.
Yeah.
Just a bit quick.
Just get rid of it. Okay.
Oh, get rid of it. I'm fine. But surely they've like used up some of those particles. So I feel like the sun would still just be a bit pissed off at them.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yay, I'm whole again. I'm free.
Yeah.
I feel like they've used some of you up. You can never truly be repaired. And just there could have been so much more to have done with the sun thing. I just feel like that whole thing is just a bit wasted. I think Rings of Akaten does an evil stun a bit better because it has like some emotional beats to it. But yeah, it just so much build up, a lot of build up. And then it's like, oh, empty out the fuel. Okay, cool. We're done now.
Yeah, my head canon is this is the same sun from Rings of Akaten, but early. And then it comes, it eventually forms, and then it gets its plan together to then strike out at the universe because of this, which would probably make this episode better, to be fair, if they did actually officially link it, but that will never happen. No. Which is fine. And yeah, I do agree with everything about the ending, and it leads me on to my third negative, which is the convenience of everything in this. Yeah. So I've got a little list. First of all, yeah, just like that, they can just eject the fuel. Fine. I guess that's how fuel works. You just have an eject fuel button on your spaceship for some reason. Also, they conveniently had enough fuel reserves to fly away from the sun after they jettisoned all the fuel. Okay. The phone calls. You know, thank God that the doctor right at the start went, hey, I'm going to give you this thing that lets you call anywhere. Yeah. And then they're like, oh, I'm going to call my mum to help me with this because I can do it now. It's like, oh, fine, I guess. And also the exposition, it felt cheap in the way it was received because it wasn't like the doctor had to figure it out. It was just he coincidentally looked at the sun and the sun was like, hey, I'm going to come inside you. And then they were like, oh, here you go. Yeah, no, exactly. And then they were like, oh, by the way, here's everything that's wrong. Here's why he's doing this. And here's what he needs to do to fix it. It's like, oh, okay. So just like that, we find it out. I've also put door opening there, but I can't remember what that is. Oh, I know. It's when the possessed man comes through the door and Martha's like, in here. And she just smashes a button on the door and goes up. Like, how did you know that would open the door? You have no idea. Again, smashing the thing means the pod ejects. thankfully there's a thing on the edge of the spaceship that means if I just remagnetize it, it will come back. It's all just a little bit too easy, and it feels like a competent person could solve all this problem pretty quickly. Whereas the crew especially are dumbed down. I get that the Doctor and Martha won't know because she's not from the time. She's got no idea how science is. The Doctor should probably know, but he's just thrown into this straight away, and he's not exactly given any information.
No.
Other than that they've got a scoop. So other than that, he can't tell what the situation is. But everyone else on the crew, they know what they've done within the past 2 days. You would think, we scooped that sun, and all of a sudden we're falling into it. I wonder what the problem could be.
Kath 100% should have guessed what the problem was.
Yeah.
But they needed an episode to happen.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot in there that it just relies on people being too naive and a lot of coincidences. Obviously, the big one being the fact that Martha now can call anywhere. But if you can, and then that's the other issue. If you can call anywhere, why not call your sister, who's more likely to help you pretty quick than your mum that's going to ask loads of questions? Or hey, why not use the internet on your phone and do that if it can go anywhere? But maybe it's only limited to phone calls. I don't know.
It's lucky she called the one person who's working with Mr. Saxon's people and monitoring the calls.
Yeah, or her brother that's literally a DJ, although it's not really a DJ. And then also, what annoys me, and this is another tangent, the fact that Riley doesn't know what not necessarily who the Beatles are, but what a beetle is. I'm like, surely you know what a beetle is, even if you don't know what the band is.
Yeah.
Shut up. Elvis Presley and the Beatles.
Beatles?
Go away, Riley. That's put you in my negative. But yeah, it's just there's a load of little things that annoy me, I think, in this, and they all just bubble to the surface in ways that annoy me even more. So what is your final negative?
I've mentioned this near the start, I think, but their interesting ideas, I think, are just over way too quickly, and they just brush them aside. So it's just half an hour of just meandering build up, and then oh shit, the Doctor's possessed. That's a really cool idea, and he's fine.
And it's fine. Just freeze him. It's fine.
Yeah, and oh, the sun's alive. That's a really interesting idea. Oh, and the fuel's gone. We're done now. Okay, fine.
Bye.
So as great as the possessed Doctor sequence and all that is, I think that's really cool. And again, David Tennant sells the fuck out of it. It's just over so quickly. All he does is he's crawling on the floor, burning Martha, crawls a bit more, and then he's fine. If that had been like the second half of the episode, that'd been great. Yeah, just get rid of so much boring exposition-y stuff and just escalate it even quicker. Maybe have less crew people. Kill one person off with Corin, Fries, Rosa Parks, and then the Doctor gets possessed, and then that's the episode. That could be really interesting. But it's just I'm so disappointed. This is the most disappointed I've been with an episode since we've started. There have been worse episodes. There have been episodes I hated. But I haven't been more disappointed with one, because at least going into episodes before, I've hated them before and I still hate them. With this one, I was very blue at the end.
This is kind of the first episode where at least you have had sort of like fond memories, high expectations, and then just been
completely crushed.
We've had ones that are maybe like slightly less, or we've definitely had ones that are definitely more. But I think this is like our first example of one where our memory is clouded a little bit.
Yeah, this was definitely nostalgia goggles because it's 2007 and stuff.
Yeah.
But still, it's a shame. But they did take, I think, their more interesting ideas. Not only save them for the last third of the episode, which is already far too late to actually explore them properly. They then just gloss over them and they're over in like a minute.
Yeah, that's fair. Also given the fact that I guess you could just point it to Time Lord biology, but the fact that the Doctor just doesn't completely burn up whatever like the other two did. He's just fine afterwards, I guess. But sure, it's not worth it. My other sort of negative that I want to touch on is Martha felt a little bit up and down in this for me.
Okay.
There's no need to snap at her mum to start with. That felt very much like a teenager having like a tantrum, being like, "Oh, just do this for me," kind of thing. I'm like, I know you're in a high press situation, but there's no time limit on the door lock. It's fine. You can take your time with this one question. There's no need. Let your mum plug in the mouse, although it has a trackpad on the laptop.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, just
yeah,
come on.
I guess fine. So that was a bit, it was quite angsty, and I didn't feel that felt with that snap. Didn't feel right with the character really from what we've seen. Also, why when at the end is when Martha walks in and she's like, "Oh, I saved you," and the doc's like, "Eh," and then she's like, "Oh, now I'm sad." Why does that make her depressed? Why does she get sad at the fact that the doctor's like, "Yay, it's fine." It just doesn't make sense. And then he produces the key, and they're like, "Oh yeah, freaking fire again."
What I take from that is she thought they'd made a lot of progress with him opening up to her after Gridlock, and then he refuses to open up to her about he's clearly not okay, and then she's a bit like, "Oh, maybe I haven't made as much progress as I thought."
But to me, it feels like she's tried a joke. He hasn't reacted to the joke, and then she's just very sad that the joke didn't pay off.
I'm also sad that my jokes didn't pay off.
Yeah, but you don't like look like you're about to cry until somebody produces a key and goes, "Well, hey, let's go."
Well, hey, frequent flyer. You're not even a companion, you're a frequent flyer. Rose is a companion, by the way.
Yeah.
Remember Rose? I love her.
Well, no, we don't get reference to that until next week.
Yeah, that's true. Front and center of one of those pages in the book.
Yeah, it's fine. But like she just seemed very I liked the moments with her, like most of it with her and her mum. The chats were fine. It was just when she snapped at her, just bits that made me feel very out of character. But fine, I guess you needed to make them look like they were rushed, but it's fine. Did you have any other sort of negative points you wanted to touch on?
I don't think so, no.
Just pure disappointment.
Just pure disappointment.
Excellent. I'm just seeing what else there is. So it's election day back home. It felt like I don't think they necessarily shoehorned in the arcing plot into this episode, but it definitely felt like they were making up for not having anything in like 3 of the episodes just gone. Obviously we had a little bit last week, but this one, obviously you've got 2 sections where they discuss Mr. Saxon, one at the start or one in the middle when she's trying to keep her on the phone, and the other one at the end where it's like, "Oh, it's election day, blah 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 blah," that kind of thing.
Yeah, we just went from a man whispering into her ear to this full-on like, how did you get back in contact with those people?
Yeah,
did they reach out to you again? We don't really know.
Yeah, but again, in the target novelization, maybe we'll get some backstory. Nothing much else. The SS Talion design was kind of cool, at least the exterior.
Yeah, I like that.
It always looks like one of those like toys that squeak, the birds that squeak, that went like viral for ages ago. I've even put right at the start, I'm sure Martha won't need to call anyone. It's not.
After his first 30-second scene in the episode.
Yeah, literally. It's just a bit. It's just a bit.
It's something nothing until 30 minutes in for me.
Yeah.
Just sad.
Yeah.
I feel like I remembered the last 15 minutes being what it was like from the start. It just isn't.
That's fair.
It's like when people are like, "Oh my god, that cliffhanger was amazing, 10 out of 10." I'm like, you do remember there's 44 minutes of episode before that.
Did you forget about the rest of it? Yeah, that's fair.
So that's on 11-year-old Liam.
It's his fault.
Well, I think I'd have probably been 10 when this aired, but
I one of my notes is, "Oh no, not Kath." When she finds out, "Oh no,
oh no,
oh bye." Oh, there's a very dramatic zoom in on the Doctor as well when he comes through the door and like the possessed man is like staring at Martha through the hatch. He comes in and goes, "Ooh," and zooms right into his face. Like, all right, then I guess you needed that for the trailer. But yeah, so before we get into the ratings, what are the fun facts for this episode? Let's perk ourselves up before the end.
Let's do it. Okay, right. So we briefly mentioned this last week anyway, because I talked about the trailer, but this episode was delayed airing by a week due to the Eurovision Song Contest.
Imagine having to wait
2 weeks off and then
this.
Well,
at least you got Eurovision, so that's something.
I mean, sure. The episode occurs approximately in real time.
Yeah.
Technically, the events don't run in real time. For example, the countdown timer actually runs out 40 minutes into the episode, leaving 2 minutes unaccounted for prior. And there's also a 2-minute pre-title sequence. So so basically call it 38 and you'd have been bang on.
Yeah.
But it doesn't sound as snappy as 42, I suppose.
Well, I mean, 42 only sounds snappy because we've said 42. Well, I suppose then it also is the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
Yeah.
It's 42 again, not 24.
Yes.
So that's probably why that'll be why they went for it.
Probably, yes. This is the shortest title of any televised episode of Doctor Who to date, and the only one to consist solely of a number, which makes sense because 42 is very short.
Next week, next season there'll be one called 8. And no, how do we beat this?
I can't believe they've done this. Yeah. Initially, it was suggested the story be set in the same era as the Impossible Planet and the Satan Pit, and consideration was given to include the Ood in this episode. However, this did not survive the drafting stages.
I mean, do they
could have had the Ood boys back?
They wouldn't have come back. Well, I'm glad they come back when they do next season. But do they say when this is set in the episode?
I don't know, but it's not in that same era because they changed it.
Wow. Yeah, but if it doesn't specifically say, it could be in that same era.
I mean, no, but behind the scenes it isn't. So
well, it is now.
Okay.
In the Target novel, they'll change
it. Maybe they will. You never know.
And an Ood will have died in that hot room.
Yes, all the Ood would have died in this episode.
Yeah.
Coincidentally or not, the Sun only possesses men, and the possessed only kill women.
Oh boy. I guess that's a big flip from
about that, Chibnall?
From the Cyberman only being a woman killing men. Yeah. Oh no. Oh, sorry. No, the Cyberwoman does kill the pizza delivery girl. Never mind. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's true. You're wrong. Fake fan.
Chibnall's a sexist. Confirmed.
Oh God, don't say that. People are going to take that out of context. The stasis chamber is a redecorated MRI from Smith and Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So that's classic budget saving there.
Yep.
A short story acting as a prequel to the episode was released exclusively on BBC's website. It was all about the woman who was like, "Kill me now, close the door." It's all about her and her backstory. So it fleshes her out a lot more. Yeah. So the best character, definitely not the worst actor on the episode. The ship was originally called the Icarus. How very subtle. However, the movie Sunshine, which opened around the same time, had a ship called the Icarus 2. It was changed to the SS Pentalion because there's a Pantalion drive mentioned in Revenge of the Cybermen, the 4th Doctor story. So they just did it as a wink, wink, nod, nod, I guess.
Sure.
So, hooray! Everyone understood that. The popular Cyberman story that everyone definitely loves. The masks used were inspired by Cyclops from X-Men.
Okay.
Nice.
Sure.
I can see where they got that with the beam.
I mean, that's the only thing I can see, but okay.
Yeah, and we've got a long string here of, originally this thing was called this thing, but it was changed.
Right.
So we've already had one, I suppose, but Ashton was originally called Motta, but it was decided it sounded too much like Martha, so they changed it. Originally, this took place in the Peony system, but was changed after concerns it would be misheard as penis.
Boo.
Yep. And Riley's last name was originally Kincaid, but it became Vashti as they realized Brannigan in Gridlock also had the surname Kincaid.
I was going to say, I thought
just 4 episodes before.
I mean, why not? Keep them both. That'll be a nice, well, they're related kind of thing,
Yeah.
Why not?
He becomes a cat one day.
Yeah.
One day.
Exactly.
The person he finds to believe in is a cat woman.
Yeah.
They birth Brannigan's family.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe.
A major set piece had the Doctor scaling the exterior of the spaceship, but it was limited to just the airlock sequence due to budget concerns. Sad times. Some of the sound effects in this story were taken from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
42.
Yeah, cruelly stole those sound effects. Budget. Michelle Collins, who played Kath, filmed her death scene on her very first day of filming. So it all went up.
Good way to start.
Yeah. No lines, so she did her best work on that day. The scene where the Doctor promises to save Martha from the escape pod was inspired by Last of the Mohicans. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what scene it is inspired by, but that's where they got that from. So there you go.
I'll take your word for it.
And then finally, Vinette Robinson, who plays Abby, would go on to play Rosa Parks in Rosa just 11 years later.
Only 11 years.
Only 11 years.
Gets a big break in 11 years.
Yeah, she's actually
Redeems
used
herself.
well in 11 years' time.
Yeah. She does a good performance in 11 years' time. Oh, lovely. What an episode. That leaves one thing. What are you rating it out of 10?
I don't know. What are you rating it?
I am giving it 5.5.
Okay.
Which is 0.5 more than last week again, because
Yeah.
I felt it grew on me more than last week.
Mhm.
I think you also gave it a 5.5, didn't you, last week?
I gave it a 5.
Okay, so what are you
week.
giving it? What are you giving it this week?
It is odd because there is a lot I like. Last Experiment is bad. And the last 10 minutes really does save it. But I was more entertained by Lazarus Experiment. This one bored me. I don't know. I think, we approach this as a place as we've already seen them. We're approaching them again. It's how we feel about them now. I was very disappointed with this one, so I'm going 4.5.
Yeah, that's understandable. I don't blame you for that. Because, although we'd love to come into this blind, it would be a very interesting watch if we did come into these blind. Unfortunately, because we're massive nerds, we've seen them all before and on numerous occasions. Yeah. So naturally, our opinions will be biased and based in what we have seen, and both before and after these episodes.
And now that I've recently seen it, I'd know what to expect. I can guarantee I'd watch it again and enjoy it a lot more. But as it stands with this, 4.5.
Yeah. So when we eventually get to the end of rewatching this, we'll do them all over again, and then we'll see, and then we'll see what happens.
Oh God.
But yes, that will be it for 42, and we look ahead to the next.
And now
time.
series 3 gets good.
You hope. That's what you said last time.
Yeah, I'm gonna hate it.
Next week is Human Nature. It is the first part of a 2-parter. Human Nature and Family of Blood. It sees the Doctor and Martha. Unfortunately, I thought this watching it. The next time trailer kind of gives it away, but it sees the Doctor transform himself into a human and hide himself away in early 1900s Britain. I'm kind of upset. I was like, if the next time trailer kind of either didn't happen or made it as if the Doctor had been human all along and didn't show him transforming, I think that might have been a cooler way in, and that's kind of how the episode starts anyway. But I know that this is a beloved 2-parter for a lot of people. It's obviously based off of the book of the same name from the 7th Doctor's run. And I remember quite liking it. It's definitely one that I think has grown on me since as I've gotten older, as I've learned to enjoy the darker side of it and the more sort of in-depth analysis of it, I guess. I've enjoyed more since I've grown up. And the acting is, especially in the second part, which will obviously come on to in a couple of weeks, is very good.
Yeah.
And it has loads of really good guest casts. So what do you remember of it?
Well, nothing I say about what I thought of episodes means anything anymore. So why even bother? But yeah, I know it's beloved. I always really liked it, but that means nothing anymore, so it doesn't matter. I think the Family of Blood and the Scarecrows are really great villains. I'm looking forward to seeing how they fare. I'm interested to see what I'm going to think of Joan, because she's kind of a big crux of the story. If you don't like her and buy into that romance with her and John Smith, it's a bit like Obia. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it airs as like a part 1, how we're going to feel about that compared to part 2 and stuff, because sometimes it goes one way, sometimes it goes the other.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that. It'd be cool to see, another thing based on something else, because we had Daleks based on an audio drama in series 1. Now we've got this again, so it's cool to see how that all plays out. I'm excited for this one, because I do feel like the second half of series 3 is regarded to be incredibly strong, but also in the fandom, series 3 as a whole is required to be very strong, and I no longer agree with that, having revisited this first half. So I do think it really steps up with the next episode, so I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think, we may be proven wrong, but I think we're probably pretty safe to say that the next, six episodes? Yeah, the next 6 episodes Probably some of the best of New Who, I'd argue. Definitely the best of Series 3, obviously. And we'll see how it goes. I haven't rewatched this one in a long time. I've rewatched the finale a fair few times because it's one of my favorite finales. I know a lot of people don't like it for various reasons. But
I really like Utopia.
I know. I've always, whenever it comes to finale, maybe it's because it's the big thing in the series. I always like the finales. It tends to be, they always tend to be some of my favorite episodes. I just like the drama, Mick.
Yeah, I'm hoping I have an anti-42 experience with the Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords.
I hope so too.
So when it first did, I found that Sound of Drums are very boring, very dragged out.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that changes.
Yeah.
And I like Last of the Time Lords up to like the Jesus Doctor bit.
Yeah.
And that whole kind of resolution.
We'll have to make sure that we both watch DVD versions of it, else they might cut.
Yeah, we're going to miss the best scene in Doctor Who history.
Yeah, exactly. But we'll come on to that in a few weeks. Next week, obviously, we will be back with Human Nature again. And I say this every week, and it's getting closer. There could be a Series 13 trailer just around the corner. That Find the Doctor thing did get found out last week, and there was a couple of preview images released. So there's all signs point to something happening soon. It could be this week, could be next week. Hopefully it's this week, so we don't have to stop in the middle of a two-parter. But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, if anything Doctor Who comes out, we'll cover it here. I'm pretty sure the Doctor Who video game comes out soon as well. I'll have to check the date on that. That Edge of Time, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Edge of Reality, I think it is. That's coming out on PlayStation. So we'll, if we can figure out when it's out, we'll try and give that a go and maybe play some stuff.
I've still got that Race to the TARDIS board game we need to play.
There we go. So we have no excuse now. Like I said, we're allowed out. We're allowed around each other's houses.
We have every excuse. We're lazy.
Oh yeah, there is that.
I'm old now. I can't go out.
Yeah, you can't go out.
Bones.
You've got a shield. That's it.
Yeah, my poor bones.
But we'll see how it goes. Obviously, if that game does come out, I think we probably both intend to get it. And at the very least, we'll probably review it, I would say. But we'll see how it goes. For now, hopefully we'll see you next week for Human Nature. If not, we'll see if whatever else comes next. But yeah, that's it. Bye.
Bye.